because the power of God is in His gospel. TvGrace International presents The Mind of Christ, the ineffable words of God on the lips of the man Christ Jesus. Abba, Father.
Well, the past topic we had been discussing 3 yokes, and then we briefly talked about those 3 yokes. And I've received several emails from other people telling me, Jesus Christ, I don't have a yoke. I'm not married. I'm not bound by the yoke of marriage. Well, you don't have the marriage yoke, but you have the yoke of Jesus Christ. Remember that He said, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart." Let's read that Bible verse from Matthew 11. Today's topic is the easy and light yoke. That is the topic, the easy and light yoke. It says in Matthew chapter 11, verses 28-30, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Well, to those who wrote to me who are without the matrimonial yoke, what I want to tell you is that this yoke that you have on, which is the spiritual one, there is the matrimonial yoke, which is carnal, and there is the spiritual yoke, which is the one that all of us who are called and chosen have placed upon us. That is a yoke, which is a seal, sealed with the Spirit for the day of redemption. Then He says, learn from me. Learn what exactly? Well, you really must learn that if you're going to put on a yoke, now that you don't have it and you're thinking of marrying or joining someone, since you're without it, learn to make that yoke you're looking for a good one, that they would make an ideal couple. First of all, if you're in the ministry, you're not looking for an unbeliever to be your partner. A person who is not enlightened, because those who already have a yoke, who live with unconverted people, do not tolerate it. Don't you see it's darkness and light? You are enlightened and the other person is not. And it becomes quite difficult to live with someone who isn't enlightened. At this particular stage of the ministry, those who are unmarried, unless they want to follow Paul's recommendation, which says it would be good for a man to remain as I am, without marriage, if he has continence. Because the Apostle Paul, let's read first letter to the Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7. It says the Apostle Paul in the first letter to the Corinthians chapter 7, verse 7, it says, "For I wish that all men were." Listen, everyone. Paul is tremendous. We're even as I myself. But each one has his own gift from God. One in this manner, and another in that. But I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them if they remain even as I am. But if they cannot exercise self-control, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Remember that word, to burn with passion. Because primarily, we understand that marriage is an honor. It says over there, I'll be right back to 1 Corinthians 7:7. But to have a biblical basis for marriage, Paul speaking, says, Hebrews chapter 13 verse 4. Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled. But fornicators and adulterers God will judge. Marriage is honorable among all. Then, it is good. It's good to get married, but with the right support. When you're with someone you've been getting to know, someone whose values you recognize and you understand their mindset, then you can build a strong marriage in harmony. Because Paul says if you don't marry and you don't have the gift, then it's possible that you could enter a state where you are burning yourself out. And that word burning there, it is you who are destroying yourself. You're annoyed. Because the apostle tells us that when a man unites with a woman, they become a single flesh. Therefore, if you are living life adrift and you are not organizing your thoughts, therefore, you are living a life steeped in fornication. Let's see what Paul says about fornication in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 7. Chapter 7, verse 2. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Marriage is honorable for everyone. It's good to be married. But with the right person, if you have the yoke, you have to handle the matter as far as you can and as far as you get. But Paul recommends this because in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verses 16 to 20, let's read this. First letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verses 16 to 20. Look at what it says. Or do you not know that he who is joined to a harlot is one body with her? For the two, he says, shall become one flesh. Imagine if you live chaotically, and 1 week you're with one woman and the next you're with another, or 1 week you're with one man and the next with another. You're becoming one flesh with that person, even if you don't go to an altar. Here we are talking about spiritual laws. Even if you haven't gotten married, if you indulge in fornication, the apostle says here, flee. Look at what verse 18 says. Flee sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does is outside the body. But he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body. We're not talking here about sinning against God. We're talking about you sinning against your own body. Figuratively speaking, you're failing your body because there are spiritual laws. They say that when you join with a woman, you become one body with her, a single flesh. And then, if you keep burning yourself like that, you're going to harm yourself, you're going to destroy yourself. Forget about salvation. We're not talking about salvation here. We're talking about daily salvation in your testimony and in your daily life. You are looking for the best because look at how the Vatican lives, burning. It seems like it's the same term, lest you get burned. Well, the Vatican with all these priests, when they drink, they swear celibacy. And so they do not have the gift of self-control. So when desires come, they start to fornicate. They fornicate with children, they fornicate with women, they fornicate with the kings of the earth. Politically, there are many forms of fornication. And that's why the Vatican is destroying itself all on its own. Because the one who gets burned is destroyed. To burn oneself means to harm or destroy oneself. And then it starts losing credibility. So a blessed one from our ministry, who is leading a disorderly life, and he spends his time praising here and there and talking. And since it's not really defined, So what he does is burn himself and harm himself until he is no longer trusted. You are destroying yourself. I mean, it's just that in the past it's just that in the past. We're not talking about the past, blessed one. We're talking about the transformation that's coming. We are talking now that you are mature. You cannot give free rein to the flesh because you know that the flesh is against the spirit and the spirit is against the flesh. And I wouldn't want to, because I'm not threatening he who is without sin here. Throw the first stone. As the term says, we are free and we are dead to sin. Not just free, but dead to sin. But what I'm trying to say is, we're not scolding you. We're giving you advice so you can live excellent lives. And better. And let's hope the opposite doesn't happen to us. I correct myself here in the wedding parable. Do you recall that they discovered a gentleman at the wedding reception who was not in appropriate attire? Well, if he was at the wedding, it seems they invited him. And to speak in a figurative sense, when they found him without clothes, it's like saying that a blessed one from our ministry who has been enlightened, he is invited to undergo a transformation, but he won't dress as Christ. Remember Ephesians? What does it say? Put on the new man which was created according to God. It says in Ephesians, here it is. Chapter 4, verse 24. Ephesians 4:24 says, and that you put on the new man which was created according to God in true righteousness and holiness. It means you are expected to be found dressed in the knowledge of the new man. And to achieve that, you must establish righteous paths for your feet. You cannot live in a state of fornication, nor can you live by deceiving others. You cannot be walking around in chaos and referring to yourself as blessed, with 666 looming over you and people staring, because that is quite a bad show. Those are not good works for your life. So, just imagine there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Can you imagine what it would be like for you, a blessed one, when the transformation comes and suddenly you see everyone else with immortal bodies while you remain just as you are, as if nothing had happened to you? It's as if someone wins a prize but doesn't look closely. The prize numbers, and he doesn't know he won, and sets them aside. And sometimes those awards have on a certain expiration date, and at that moment, one day, you check and notice that you had earned $14 million, but you can no longer claim them. Hey. It's truly a teeth-grinding experience that you, being and growing in grace, being enlightened, and for not dressing, do not participate in the transformation. It is weeping and gnashing of teeth. But I receive that you do not wait until the second watch. If you were called to be the first fruits, live as one of the first fruits. Desire what is good. Everything that is pure, everything that is lovely, everything that is of good reputation. Think about these things. So the blessed ones who are free from the yoke, either you put on a yoke or you walk seeking an excellent yoke for your life. And those who are married, well, as we discussed in the last conference, seeking the most excellent things for the kingdom. I am going to give a reading of the final verse, chapter 6, verse 19. Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own? For you were bought at a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit. In both places, look. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. Both are from God. Your body was bought, adopted, bought at the price of blood. Your spirit is perfect with a single offering. So blessed I say goodbye. Until next time, when we can continue sharing the message of the kingdom while we await the transformation. Until next time, and it will be at the upcoming conference,